Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you're new. I am the stepson of Krypton.
I'm Mantis.
And today we are coming up with another news article. Supposedly, here is about the top 4 reasons the DCU might fail. Mantis, we got a lot to cover, and I want to try to keep it as succinct as possible. Are you ready to get on into this video?
I'm ready.
All right, guys, don't want to waste a whole lot of time. Top 4 reasons the DCU might fail coming at you right now. All right, guys. So when we say this, there was a recent article, and I'm going to have it up here on the screen for you guys, that had talked about there's potentially 4 main reasons that the DCU might fail, or DC might fail again, as the article had referenced. All right. So we thought we'd go over them. We're going to try to keep this as brief as is humanly possible, just because, you know, I feel like all of these reasons kind of there's 2 sides to them, right? Like, yes, this, but there's also this, right? So I don't want to dive into it too much because who knows. Let us know down in the comments though if you agree with any of the 4 reasons or if you have any insights you want to add to them. Mantis, do you want to start off with number 1 though?
The lack of stylistic diversity. Um, this was kind of, I mean, not kind of. It was a thing when we saw the Superman trailer, when we saw Superman uh, itself, and then I definitely know it popped up in with Peacemaker. It popped up with the first trailer or the teaser trailer we saw of Supergirl. This quippy ragtag misfit formula that James Gunn, don't get me wrong, he's good at it. Like it does work. But when you keep kind of using that in everything, it's like, oh, James, you could tell instantly James Gunn did this, right? Even if it doesn't say James Gunn brought to you by Superman or, whatever it is. You can see that. I mean, what caught me in this latest trailer, which if you haven't seen that video, I don't know when this is coming out, but it's already out.
Yes, it's already
Um,
released. We're good on that.
yeah, the Supergirl trailer reaction we did. She's listening to an older song, this feel good, like it's not Motown, although it kind of sounds like, I can't remember the name of the song, but
Just
it's
like Peter
it's
Quill would have.
that's what I'm saying. I literally, it's the opening of Guardians where he's dancing and listening to his, which is great. Like I have the vinyl of that movie, the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. That they're great songs. I get it. But it's leaning to this same formula thing. And so I totally get that. And although kind of James Gunn has said there's no company style, because we have seen, Clayface coming out, so there's a horror movie, right? So if fucking Clayface looks like a ragtag team of misfits, there's a big problem. I don't think that's going to happen there. So, but all of the movies that he's kind of been heavily involved with kind of feel the same. So I get it. I totally get it.
Well, and there's the thing with, like, if you see a lot of unnecessary explosions, you're like, Michael Bay must be involved, right? Everyone, all of them have their own particular thing that they kind of gravitate towards. But the problem is, it doesn't necessarily work for every movie, right? You're bringing over again, you very Guardians of the Galaxy feel. Well, I don't want a Guardians of the Galaxy feel if I'm watching a Batman movie. Maybe I don't even want it when I'm watching like it. You can't use the same format for every single movie, especially when you're bringing in. Well, again, you talk about style diversity, right? I've
Mhm.
got different characters. I've got a super hopeful light character, and I've got a very dark, kind of grim, realistic character. I don't want them to have the same style, right? They should feel different. If
Yes.
you're just gonna make everybody feel like they're the Guardians of the Galaxy and now, oh, I got cool music and things, people are like, oh, it feels like you because and you had pointed out in the Supergirl teaser was when she's in that bar scene, it's exactly like one of the scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily always want that. Right. And
Yeah, otherwise, you just feel like you're watching the same movie over and over again,
exactly.
right?
Like part of
Yeah.
what you're doing is telling the story of these characters, which they all have different themes. They all like it's all different. Again, going back to the diversity. So I could understand that one, and I could see if you don't switch things up, it does make 4A people kind of just get tired of it, right? Like, okay,
Mhm.
you just keep trying to produce the same type of movie, and you're trying to force the characters to work within that type of style versus the other way around, where you need to change the style depending on the character. Right.
Right.
So, and it kind of ties into another thing with the next one of the next, or I should say, the next reason. And these aren't in any particular order, guys, but like the pacing of the overall universe, right? Because another thing he's kind of doing, and another thing that Guardians did was Guardians brought in. I mean, most of the people who are MCU fans, I say MCU, not Marvel, MCU fans probably couldn't told you before the movie released who the fuck the Guardians of the Galaxy were. Right?
Mhm.
They're very insignificant characters that came in at a time when like so much other important shit has happened and you already introduced all of these ultra like badass characters, your main characters in the MCU or in Marvel, right? Whereas we know what happened with the DCEU was you dropped a bunch, I say a bunch. You dropped several characters in, but we didn't have individual movies and it wasn't set up like Marvel had, and people struggled with it. Now you've thrown with the Superman movie, you already thrown a lot of kind of, I don't want to say obscure, but for the average moviegoer who's not a DC fan, but they like Superman or Batman, they don't know these characters, right?
Yeah, you've already populated. I mean, Superman. I'm not even gonna include Supergirl yet, but Superman, Mister Terrific, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, Guy Gardner, a couple of other ones that have already been in Rick Flag Senior. Like, there's so many of these characters in there. Like, you kind of where are the main people? Like, you're populating this, and I get it. It's a two-way street. Are you trying to world build, right? Or are you trying to tell the story of the main character, right? Like, I want a Superman story, not a 2-hour trailer for the Authority that could be coming. You know, we want what the damn movie title is. Like, that's what I want. So when you bring all these other things together and you overload the audience with, if you want to say they're throwaway characters, fine. Okay, then why are they there? If they're Easter eggs, because of they're going to be in something else up future, which we know Guy Gardner is, he Easter egg here. Some people thought that Mr. Trivik may get a spinoff or something like that. But then again, it comes back to, it's like, this is a Superman story, not a trailer for some future show or movie. I want the story. They can be in there, but it needs to be focused on the main title character more than it seemed like it was.
Well, and the other problem you run into is when you introduce these B and C tier characters, you're like, oh, hey, they're in here. It makes it more difficult to then do. Obviously, you're going to have another solo Superman movie and a Batman movie and a Wonder Woman, and you're going to have your main character movies. It makes them more difficult because then you're like, in these movies, where were these main characters? Why were they not in there? Otherwise, you don't have a very good villain, right? If you're going to do another movie and it's Earth based with one of these sideline kind of characters, these B and C tier characters, you're like, well, then if it's some world ending threat, why wouldn't your big characters come in? If it's not,
Right.
it's not a great villain in comparison to the main story. So how do
Right.
you
And then
balance that?
right. And then that kind of leads into the next one, was is number three, which is over a reliance on obscure characters, right? Like, you can't rely on these. I won't call them B team, but they kind of are. Like, they're good in their own right, but that not in this movie, right? Like, Creature Commandos, we already know the Authority is going to be a thing based off Peacemaker itself. You know, you have the all of these things happening, and they're not any of the main three, meaning they're not Batman, Wonder Woman, or Superman. You have all this extras now. Superman did his due, but even now we have Supergirl coming out, which is a whole thing on its own. But then you introduce Lobo in there, right? Lobo's a further arcing character that's not going to just be in this movie. Now, the main villain of Supergirl probably won't be in any other movie, but you're still introducing another one here. Um, and then we don't even know what's going on with Batman. I mean, Batman's so far up in the fucking air now. The Brave and the Bold is kind of on the rocks. They're talking about the writer here and there, but that hasn't even been brought into any of this. Nor is Wonder Woman, which is I'm not saying you need to overload everything, but I feel like they're falling in kind of the same trap where instead of literally just skipping to Justice League without having solo movies for a lot of those characters, now you're going to have one or two movies with the main character, and then you're going to bring in all these other ones real fast in way up front, right? Literally in the first one.
Well, and that's the problem is where your heavy hitters then, right? You're bringing all these obscure characters. And don't get me wrong, I would love it if a fucking a Booster Gold would come in, right? I would love it to have that because they've talked about Booster Gold and things like that. But when
Mhm.
I'm talking the Justice League, I want to see Superman, Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. A Martian Manhunter. I want to see my heavy hitters, right? That's what
Mhm.
I want to see. They're the ones that form the Justice League. I don't care about Metamorpho that much. I don't care about Hot Girl and all that. Like, I don't care about. I mean, don't get me wrong, cool and all, but I'm just saying, like, that's not what I want to see. You are overloading me with all of these characters that I'm like, these aren't going to build your successful franchise. Now,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I understand when Marvel first released, they started the MCU. Iron Man, as much as people don't want to admit it now, he wasn't a super well known, like, oh, everybody knew who Iron Man was, right? They started obscure, but then they said, hey, here's our foundation. And they had a huge multi phase plan. Now, granted, after three, it kind of went off the rails, but you at least had a good almost 10-year run where you had a great plan. I just feel like right now we just don't have a plan in the DCU, which was exactly what the DCEU suffered from. And this kind of goes
Mhm.
into point four. You're missing the bit. Where is the big picture?
Yeah.
Where are we going to this? That's four is missing the big picture because you are overloading it with obscurity. The pacing seems similar to exactly what we were getting with the DCEU, where we throw a bunch all of a sudden and we're seeing what sticks, and then we're gonna all of a sudden, before you get to know every one of the main characters, we have a Justice League movie.
Plus, like, you talked about phases, which I know you don't do phases,
I don't know phases.
but like this is supposed to be called Gods and Monsters, right? Well, what the fuck does that mean? What have we seen that is gods and monsters at this point, other than Creature Commandos, which has got some monsters in it? Like, I just, who, like you said, what is the underlying threat here? Is it Brainiac? Is it Darkseid? It's not. We know it's not Darkseid because he said it's not. It's too early to do that, which I don't disagree with him there. I would like Darkseid to be well thought out and have a little bit deeper conclusion and build up to. But in the first part of Gods and Monsters, what is the underlying threat? In our comic book series, we just got through with the KO event that's Darkseid, right? That was the KO tournament, Darkseid's attacking, blah blah blah, Omega event. Now we can see it switching to the next crisis, which is the absolute crisis. What is the underlying thing that is the overarching storyline to this first Gods and Monsters? It just doesn't, to me. Maybe it's supposed to be that way. If it is, it's just I don't see it in the movies.
Yeah, but the problem is, and I don't mean to reference Marvel again, but the problem was like you saw Thanos early on in the MCU, right? As
Yes.
an afterthought, he was a post credit scene, and you see Thanos, right? And then even to the first Avengers, they were talking to it like Loki was getting his army, and it was all had to do with him, right? They set it up very. That's what I'm saying. The first three phases were set up very, very well, right?
Hmm.
At least right now, it just doesn't seem like we're doing that, right? Again, who is? I don't need to have Dark Side, but maybe if you mention Apocalypse, if I something that's going to come up, if it is Brainiac, but again, we had one kind of randomized movie that again dealt with Lex as your primary villain, and now all of a sudden, the next Superman, you want to bring in Brainiac. Well,
Well,
I get it, and it's fine. Brainiac doesn't have to be a Justice League level villain because he's fought Superman multiple times where he has taken on the entire Justice League. He hasn't. Cool, but it's like okay, he might be a Superman level villain that they deal with in the movie, and of course, there's obviously the other heroes that are already established in the first one that you might bring in, but then where is that going?
You make a really good point referencing the MCU here with Thanos. Okay, in a post, and we'll just say it because the DCU was a shit show, and they started to do it, but Marvel really kind of trademarked the after in credit scene hook, right? The hook at the end that it 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 you didn't want it to feel like an episode, like each movie an episode without some clear line showing either what's going to happen next or some underlying thing. And now after that, after the MCU and how well that they did it, audiences expect that thing, whether it's right or wrong. People like, how long did we stay after the end credit scene of the movie in the theater of Superman? We watched the whole thing and the extra one, right? But nothing there gave me any indication of what the fuck is going to happen moving forward, like at
Well,
all.
the first end credit scene was him sitting on the moon with Crypto. And then the second one, because the Supergirl thing happened in the movie, that was the first one. And then the second one was the building wasn't lined up straight, right? It was Mr. Terrific. That was nothing at all.
Yeah, yeah. People they want to see that clear connection to an overarching story and what's going to come next. Um, you know, I just feel like you have to have. I mean, Marvel did it with Thanos, but they also did it with the Infinity Stones too. You know, there were things, plot lines, stuff put in there about the Infinity Stones, whether we knew it at the time with like uh Thor 2, you know, some of that stuff, you know, was very underlying. I mean, even the Tesseract to begin with, like you just didn't even know what actually that was. They did a great job, and I'm not saying DC like James Gunn has to be Marvel, but if he has some fucking underlying vision, you need to fucking start showing it.
Yeah, and granted, we're a one movie in, right? We're just in Superman. I get it. But you, because of the level of villains that DC has, and I think DC has, in my opinion, some of the best
They
villains.
do.
You need, and especially there are also most again when you deal with somebody like Superman, his villains are going to be world ending level villains, right? Brainiacs, Darksides, Doomsdays, ones that threaten the entire world. That if you want to establish something that's going to take more than Superman, that's going to take the Justice League, you need to establish that as early on as you can, that at least they're out there, right? Again,
Mhm.
you don't have to do anything. They could just randomly mention Apocalypse and, hey, yeah, the Green Lantern Corps, there's been some dust ups on Apocalypse, or hey, whatever, right? And just set it up. But you need to
Mhm.
establish that early because, again, right now, and again, we're only one movie in. I'm not judging it yet. We'll see what happens after um, the Supergirl movie, and then with Clayface, and maybe they'll establish some things. But we need to start thinking big picture. And the reason why I guess it's so much more of a focal point, uh, sorry, for the DCU is because you didn't really seem to have it lined out in the DCEU, and part of that is what I feel like was its downfall. You know,
Mhm.
say what you want. If you're such a DCEU fan, it was kind of a shit show as far as where we were going. Like, it
It
just
was
wasn't established.
I think they tried to do it like they're like even in the Batman, like there's things in there, you know, with Bruce seeing the Flash in his dream or whatever there, like future Flash. There's a couple of things of Bruce seeing different heroes on his hard drive and this and that. Like there's things that they tried to do. Some whispers of um in Man of Steel with setting up the dark side thing at the end of that movie. It wasn't that may have been a post credit scene. I can't remember with Lex saying it's already the bell's already been rung, or when that was Batman 2 or Batman v Superman. Sorry. Um, you know, they tried to do it a little bit here and there, but like it just kind of fell flat. They didn't do it well. It doesn't feel to me like, aside from the authority in Peacemaker, that they've tried to do anything of setting anything up regarding the universe. They've had creature commandos. If you're gonna count uh Suicide Squad in there. There's some carryover with Rick Flag and Peacemaker, but that's not what we're talking about here. That's not Thanos level underlying big picture, like you said.
He goes, none of the
That's
Suicide Squad's going to go fight Darkseid, right?
that's that. Yeah, that has nothing. That's a continuation of maybe the same storyline, but it has nothing with big picture in game type thing, like you're saying. It's not.
I don't know. I'm hoping they will learn from the mistakes because the reality is we all know that the DCEU ran into its problems because they were so desperate to try to keep up with Marvel. That's it, right?
Absolutely.
They were so desperate to keep up with the MCU and they wanted to try to ride the coattails of that success and everything, and they rushed it. It didn't work. It fell flat. I know people are going to say, "Oh my God, Henry Cavill's the greatest Superman and the best movies ever." It fell flat. If it was super ultra successful, they'd have kept on, right?
Yeah.
That's
Not gonna turn down money.
yeah, that's it fell flat because they were trying to keep up with Marvel without an established plan like Marvel had. So I'm hoping they won't make these same mistakes. But guys, let us know down in the comments what do you think, right? Of these four reasons. Again, I'll have the article up here. This isn't we're referencing an article. This isn't necessarily us saying this. However, we do have our own opinions on it, but we want to hear yours too. Of these four reasons, which one, or maybe you think all four of them are potential downfalls for the DCU, right? Let us know. And Mantis, anything on that?
Well, you could also let us know if all of this is bullshit and we're lying, or this article's full of shit. I mean, I think they make some pretty good points here and there, but maybe it is. We're just kind of being too harsh at the beginning. But I think, like you gotta come out fucking swinging. You just have to.
I think maybe we are guilty of it. I think we are maybe, and I think a lot of people are being a little harsh on it. But we've been so recently hurt, right? Like
Yeah,
we were this close to having Dark Side, and all this on there, and then we got the rug pulled out from under us, right? So we've been brokenhearted, and it's just taken us a little while to recover, right? So this is that, like that. We're gonna do the extra steps to make sure we don't get hurt again.
yeah. Lucy keeps pulling that football, dude. I'm just not gonna try and kick it again.
Fucking bitch. Um. So yeah, now, guys, if you have made it with us this far throughout all of our craziness, we definitely appreciate it. And we appreciate everybody who's already subscribed and been there from the beginning. But if you aren't, consider subscribing to the channel while you're giving the video a like. Don't forget, very key, right? Because guys, we do this for free for you. We're busting our asses. We're putting out a lot of videos. I mean, every other day we're putting out some new video because we're still doing everything with. Fuck, we just got done recording Justice League Unlimited for that comic book. We're tackling everything in the Absolute universe. We've even tacked on Lobo, the new Lobo comic on that. So have the bell notifications clicked while you're subscribing and liking. Get alerted when we release new videos. I don't think it's too much to wait till the very end of this video if you're still here to ask you to give it a like and subscribe. You made it that far, you might as well, right? I mean, why not?
Mhm.
Fair trade. We're not asking you to give us money yet. Maybe later. But for right now, you're good. And you can watch our content without ads because we're such a small channel that YouTube doesn't put ads on our videos.
They
So
don't make enough, yeah, watch time for them to make any money off of it. So
you get ad-free content even if you don't have YouTube Premium. All right. All free things we give to you guys. All we ask is that small little favor, guys. All right, Mantis, unless you have anything else, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, we'll see you then.
later.